Congressman, I've really been studying this, as I know you have for as long as I've probably been alive, but I've been studying the quickest way to bring down this corrupt system without them starting World War III or bringing in a police state or bankrupting us. And as you said a month ago here on the show, is have grand juries investigate the bankers. They've certainly committed crimes. Audit the Fed, and you call for auditing the Fed, and they arrogantly go on TV and say we're outside the government, above the government. I think you've hit on the issue, not just going for abolishing the Fed, as you also have a bill and co-sponsors, but auditing them. I mean, is it the Congress? Is it some agency of government? Aren't the American people, through our agents, you, the elected servants, having the power to audit this? I mean, can you speak to that fundamental, and is this the Excalibur that can kill the dragon?
Yeah, we do have the authority and the moral responsibility. Of course, we had no authority to create the Fed. It's unconstitutional, but it isn't private in the sense that somebody set up a private corporation, all of a sudden it became successful. It has become secret, but the authority comes from the Congress, and the responsibility for the Congress is to monitor everything that it is supposed to do, what it claims it's supporting. But prior to 1978, there was talk of this. You know, the old populists of Texas, Wright Patman, and people like Henry Gonzalez have always called for more openness and transparency of the Fed. But every time that came up, the people would say, well, the GAO has no explicit authority to audit the Fed, so they wouldn't do it. And that was the way they handled it. But finally, on insistence that the GAO have the authority, in 1978 they wrote a law that said now the GAO has the authority to audit the Fed, except for four big issues. You know, and that was essentially everything. The important issues were excluded. So in legalizing an audit of the Fed, they actually put it in the law that we couldn't find out any information. So what we have to do, and what my bill does, is repeals those prohibitions against finding any information from the Fed. If we get the books open, find out what they're doing, where these trillions of dollars are going, who their friends are, what kind of corrupt governments they support, what central bank activity there is, and how much all this economic planning, not only domestically but internationally, I think then it's going to make it much easier to have monetary reform and do something to get rid of the Fed.
So that's the bottom line. We have to audit the bankers that have designed this implosion, who are openly announcing G20 Bank of the World with a global regulatory authority. Can you speak to the fact that all these years you've written books, you've spoken, we've talked about how they believe in globalism and one world government, and now, Congressman, they are openly coming out after they've engineered the crisis, and they're saying the solution is giving us unlimited power?
That's what they do. We're doing it domestically and we're doing it internationally. I think the IMF made the proposals that they wanted like $50 million, and Obama says, well, let's give them 100. He doubled the amount they requested. And that's more power into these international organizations. At the same time, look at all the power that's gravitating to Washington. Real estate prices aren't going down in Washington because there's so many people moving in. They have been doing this for years. Every time they create a problem, they say, well, there's not enough power. Their explanation now, and I think a key speech was that economic speech that Obama gave. You know, he said, well, we do have problems, and there's an emergency, and we have to do this. We don't have enough regulations, so we need more government regulations and international regulation. That means they're going to bring in these international government. Then he said, well, we have to pump more money into education. We have to pump more money and nationalize medical care. And then we also have to take over all this energy problem that we have. But then his fifth part of his speech was, you know, we have to act responsibly. We have to now devise a system of government where we act within our means and get this budget under control. But we don't have to do that for a while. Let's do that in 10 years from now. I don't know how they can do that with a straight face and how the American people can swallow that. At the same time, they just see this financial crisis getting worse, our liberties being diminished, and world government growing. So we have a desperate struggle to wake up the American people. But on the more positive side, there are more now who are becoming aware of what's happening, and the worse the crisis gets, maybe more people will wake up, and that's why I think the auditing the Fed bill is important, because they'll say, because most people don't even know yet that we're not allowed to have this information. Yesterday, I got a co-sponsor of that bill with somebody on the House floor, and he wasn't aware of any of this stuff. He says, "You mean we can't audit the Federal Reserve?" No, we never could, and there's no authority, and they're excluded. He says, "Sign me up." So he immediately did. So there's a lot of people who just don't understand this, and that means that once the American people realize this, they will get their congressmen to do something about it.
Well, Congressman, I know you won't say this because you're a gentleman and very humble. We all need to be praying for you, because you are really leading the charge here on something that could bring down this world government that's in its embryonic phases. I mean, if we audit the U.S. governorship of the private world banking dictatorship, if you're able to audit them and all of their crimes come out and they start going to prison, their New World Order is dead on arrival. So what you're doing is so historical, and also I would imagine you are a smart guy and know very, very dangerous.
Well, I guess getting in a car is dangerous too, so I try not to dwell too much on that.
But I mean, certainly on record, you know the globalists are dangerous folks.
Oh yeah, I mean when they think you're achieving something, I said the closer we come to achieving it, I think probably the danger does increase.